Well, I just want to welcome everybody here. This is our first of our webinar series where we're going to have at least 10 webinars from presenters that were at the recent conference in Melbourne. I'm very pleased that we've got Tanya first up here. She runs an organisation called Nurture in Nature here in Victoria, Australia. And she'll tell you probably a little bit more about what she does in general terms, but in particular, she's going to take us through a Stonework play session today. So thank you for taking the time, Tanya. And maybe you just want to give a bit of background and introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. Thank you so much for having me. I say some familiar names here. I might share my screen because that will help you. I like telling stories in pictures. And the best way I can do that is to, I guess, not PowerPoint you to death, but show you some beautiful photos, and that helps me kind of tell a bit of my story and then introduce this beautiful Stonework play session that we're going to do. So let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, can everyone see that? Deb, can you see that, Debbie? Yep, good, excellent. All right. So as Debbie said, this workshop, this experience that I'm going to share with you today is called Stonework Play. It's an incredible experience, activity, opportunity to share with the children and families in your toy libraries. And we can talk a bit about sort of the application, how you might do that. As Debbie said, I am the founder of Nurture in Nature, and I'm also a children's book author now, which I wasn't quite when I spoke at the conference, but I am now. So before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I play, learn and explore, the Kira people, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and thank them for the care and the custodianship of the land so that we can enjoy this beautiful nature that is all around us. And I encourage you, if you do know the traditional custodians of the lands on which you are joining us from, pop that in the chat. I'd love to know where people are from. I've heard a few conversations before we officially began, but it's always wonderful. I believe, Debbie, you're on Wurundjeri country.
Yes, I am. I'm on Wurundjeri country in Melbourne, Australia.
Excellent. All right. Just a little quick rundown about me for those of you who haven't met me. I grew up a dairy farmer's daughter, playing in the mud and with sticks and rocks, and as you can see, a big stick there. And I grew up, and I'm still playing with sticks as an adult. And I actually wrote a book with a stick as one of the main characters. So very much love the potential of a stick to be not just a stick, but anything your imagination can conjure up. I live on Kira country, as I said, in the southwest districts of Victoria in Australia, beside a dormant volcano. I'm very fortunate to live in this beautiful on this beautiful country, and I really I love to be surrounded by nature. It doesn't mean that I always get out there enough. A lot of our work playing with children and helping children and families play is sometimes in front of a screen. So it's a real challenge for me sometimes to get out and connect with nature. But when you do that, it's really fantastic. So I live here with my family. My partner Michael, our 5 kids, who are a little bit older than in this photo now, but I think it shows they're actually selling really strong, like a sweet drink at the top of our driveway and selling eggs from our chickens. And so that is like free play, outdoor nature connection at its finest. And they were great days. As I said, I also am a new children's book author. Nature Ninja Saves the Natural World, and that's all about a little kid ninja who wants to save the planet. But Nature Ninja and friends, Boo Book the Owl and Stick, realise that they actually live nowhere near the Amazon like you do Beatrice, and they can't get out of their backyard to save the planet. So how the story is all about how you can save the planet in your own backyard, and it's really relevant. Across the world, the climate change narrative at the moment. In my work, I'm so fortunate to do so many different things. I love working with adults. I love working with children. I love working with, you know, telling stories. I'm lucky enough to drive around in a wonderful mobile classroom, which makes me look much cooler than I really am. And I love to create workshops and experiences and resources for teachers and toy libraries and all sorts of different places as well. So that's sort of just some of the fun stuff that I do on a day-to-day basis. And the thing that really drives me is you wanting to have children that I work with empower educators, but the children that I work with feel like my little mate Eason here on the right. He's living his best life. It was the middle of winter, he's covered in mud, and he was having the best day, just really connecting with the natural world. And so that's how I want children to feel when they're playing outdoors. You know, just this, it doesn't always go well. Sometimes there's tears and all that sort of, you know, as well. But yeah, if we can really open the door for children to have these natural play experiences, and there's such an incredible play opportunities and playground outdoors, then, you know, then there's so many benefits to that as well. And also, you know, if you've got, I don't know how many of you would have animals in your toy libraries. I'm sure not many of you, but animals are a really wonderful way for children to really connect deeply with the natural world as well. And there's some of our bunnies down below there. So I'm going to go through sort of how tonight's going to work as a session. It's going to be, you know, me explaining a little bit about what Stonework Play is, and we're going to do some practical, and then we're going to have a discussion as well. So I do encourage you to participate if you feel comfortable doing so. But just take a moment. I'm going to invite you to just take a moment to breathe. Some of you are at the start of the day, some of you are at the end of the day, some of you are in the middle of the day. But I really just want to invite you to, while this session is to teach you some of the activities that I know, particularly Stonework Play, but I actually really want you to benefit from this for yourself, because we don't give ourselves enough time to really connect with nature and really take that time to just kind of be mindful and in the moment. So I invite you to do that as we go along, because as we know, the last couple of years have had some of us feeling a little bit like Mr. Applehead here as well. So I do invite you to relax and enjoy this session. So as I said, it's called Stonework Play. This image on the right hand side of the heart stone in the middle, and the bigger stones and then the smaller stones around that, was a Stonework Play creation that I created, obviously with more than 20 or 30 stones that you might have today. But this picture tells a story that was very very important to me, that also allowed me to be creative in my expression and also express my emotions and the things that I was feeling at the time. So I actually created this at a cancer hospital where I was running a Stonework Play session for the patients and the families who were in there in Melbourne. And this symbolised, you can have really simple stories creating with these stones, but this symbolised, like the heart stone in the middle symbolised the patient, the person who was being treated in the hospital. The larger stones around were the family and the really core doctors who were really important in that surrounding that person. And then all the smaller stones there were the extended family and friends and everyone else who supported that person on their journey. And it was, for me as an adult, that was a really, it was a pretty intense kind of setting to be in. So that was a really wonderful way for me to understand how to almost debrief or, get out what I was feeling. So it can be a very simple play experience, but also it can be a very mindful and creative sort of experience as well. So I just wanted to share that with you. So we're going to go through today, talk a little about what Stonework Play is, then I'm going to guide you through a 5-step process, and then we'll talk a little bit about age-appropriate modifications and things like that. As you can see, this child on the right-hand side of the screen, I was doing a Stonework Play session with some older children, and the babies, of course, wanted to get involved. So we just gave them some larger stones. And they were, some of them were licking them, some of them were, moving them around as little children will do, and transporting them and all those sort of schemas that kind of come into that, rolling and things like that. But it is it's an experience for any age, really. You just need to modify it in certain ways. So Stonework Play really is a creative storytelling experience with stones. It inspires creative and meaningful engagement with nature. And essentially there are 5 steps. So gathering, constructing, rendering, narrating, and sharing, which I will go through each of those. And then I'm going to get you all to do it, because it's a really wonderful experience to do that. Even online, it works really well, hopefully. So Stonework Play began back in 2011 when Diana Suskind, who is a great friend of mine and early childhood consultant from the US, she was visiting Kathmandu, a school in Kathmandu, and she was asked to come up with developmentally appropriate hands-on activities. And these children in this school were, they were learning about pineapples, for example, but the pineapples were just in pictures or in drawings. And so they really hadn't experienced that hands-on play that really helps children understand. And so Diana went out and bought a pineapple from the local market and bought it back for the children in the school. And they experienced the pineapple, and that gave what they were learning about more meaning from that. So, but of course, in this school, they didn't have a lot of funds, didn't have a lot of money. And so Diana was wondering, how are we going to, create these experiences, look down on the ground, and of course, lots of stones around everywhere that were freely available. And she started to formulate this process that we're going to go through today called Stonework Play. So I'll just show you a tiny little video. I won't show you the whole thing of the very first Stonework Play experience.
The children, for the first time, have the stones, and they're designing their own creation. Children at Hem School in Kathmandu, Nepal, express their thoughts and create what is important to them through stonework. It can be a helicopter, a temple, a flower, or 5 birthday cakes. Stonework promotes self-reliance and provides children opportunities to make decisions on their own. A child will learn to solve social challenges such as not taking another stone and sharing their stones with others. They start by carrying the stones from a barrel, then deciding where to build. Using the stones, each child is collaborating with others or working independently. Younger children use the stones to make shapes and images that they learned about in the classroom. Through this process, children are encouraged to view themselves as a good, active person where they are the initiator. This is a unique and rare opportunity for children whose education is primarily rote learning and copying to foster and develop new skills through manipulation of their surroundings. Using nature as a vehicle to learn, the children have the opportunity to repeatedly engage in artistic projects that allow for permanency in their otherwise impermanent world. Isn't it cool?
Okay. So that was essentially when Stonework Play was born. And they Hem School still do Stonework Play to this day, particularly on or around the 3rd of November. which we have termed Stonework International Stonework Play Day, and I have a resource that that I'll be able to show you, and that'll sort of I guess cement all the things that we're talking about today, and it shows you step by step again how to do that. So Diana went back again in 2015 to Nepal just after the huge earthquakes over there, and they used stonework play again as that therapeutic medium where children could use the stones and build them up, and then then they would knock them down and they would build them up again, and it gave them some sense of control or some sense of that they could make an impact, and they had some opportunities to rebuild. It gave them hope as well. So it's a beautiful experience, definitely on so many levels. Some of the benefits of stonework play: it encourages self-directed learning, teaches critical thinking skills, provides sustained and purposeful effort. Some kids will be finished their stories within 35 seconds. Others will sit there for days if you let them just playing and tweaking their little stories and things like that. So it's just a wonderful kind of experience to have that. And it also allows for meaningful engagement with nature. So I'll go through the 5 steps. As I said before, the steps are gathering, constructing, rendering, narrating, and sharing. So I'll go through these, and then just after this, we will have an opportunity, each of you, to go through that. I'll check the time. We'll probably have about, say, 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes to create your stone stories, and then we'll go through that sharing process as well, if you feel comfortable doing that. Okay, so step 1 is gathering. So first, obviously, you need stones. You will have hopefully all brought your stones with you to the session. If you don't, you can use, I don't know, maybe you have lots of 20 or 30 pens on your desk, like I do. You can kind of use it, any sort of loose parts material to do this, but obviously stones and natural material are good, are the best way. So collect your stones. One of the things that I find is it's a really great time when you're talking to the children about gathering, is that is to talk to them about caring for the natural world. So I like to think of, we think of natural resources and natural elements, I like to call them, but we think of natural resources as things that we take. And a really wonderful message to share with children is that we can borrow from the natural world, borrow with gratitude, enjoy the gifts that nature provides for us, and then return to nature. And I like to say return to nature in a way and in the place, if possible, that you found it. So not necessarily with paint or glue or glitter or anything like that. But if you can return these stones, for example, to the natural world, then that sort of really important message of sustainability and conscious gathering really helps children care for nature and care for others as well. So what I usually do is I will lay the stones out, or have the stones in sort of cane baskets, or sort of just beautiful baskets, lots of different shapes and sizes, or wooden kind of containers or bowls, and just put them out for children to gather. If we don't go out and gather them ourselves, this is if I'm doing a workshop like I did at the conference in Melbourne. So I had a collection of stones in these baskets, and then you invite the children or the adults to come and gather some stones and find a flat surface to work on. One of the things that I love most about this experience is when you have time to give children time to play and choose and tinker and create. So if you can do this in a way that's most of the sessions that I run in this are probably about an hour, depending on the size of the group. But if you do have this beautiful time, then you just find some of the most incredible stories start to emerge. So again, our first step is gathering. the second step is constructing. Now, constructing is essentially making a story with your stones. There's lots of different shapes and sizes of the stones. I like to ask children to work independently, but you can also do this as a group session too. So these boys were at a local primary school that I worked with. They have created, those of you who are from Australia will recognise maybe the MCG there, like a football pitch, football ground, and they had made a picture of a football match. And you know, if you do know, you know, if you are from Australia, you'll know all the parts of the football that football ground there. And then they came up with this wonderful story about the game that was played on this football match, and then someone won because two of the boys supported one team and the other guy supported another one, and so it was 2 against 1. So they won. But yeah, it was just a wonderful opportunity, and they spent a long time creating this and then talking about the story that came out of it. So you can create anything you want. If children, a lot of children will know, just know as soon as you start talking about creating a story with stones, they'll just know what they want to do automatically. But then, of course, there are some children who are like, they're not really sure. So I'll often say, you know, create something that's a picture that's of something that's important to you, or something that you love to do, or maybe a pet or a friend, and just sort of start that conversation with them. And then generally they're toddling off on their way, and you know, really clear on what they want to make in the end. And there's just such beautiful creativity in allowing children to tell a story that is their own. I had one boy in a workshop once, and he came into my workshop and he was talking about Minecraft. He was talking about these tech games, and I'm not the biggest fan of those. But you know, it was obviously something he was really passionate about. And he said to me, "I'm not sure, I don't know what to make a picture of." And I said to him, "Well, you make these wonderful worlds in your Minecraft on the screen, or I wonder if you could make a Minecraft world out of stones." And this boy was so excited because I had not, you know, made him wrong for wanting to play computer games, and I had allowed him to work with the stones to create something that was important to him. And he absolutely was so proud of it, and hopefully that inspired him maybe to, you know, get off the screen and outdoors a little bit, maybe find some rocks and make a real world kind of Minecraft as well. So there's so many different opportunities. So step 1 is gathering, step 2 is constructing, step 3 is rendering. Now, rendering essentially is drawing. So we like drawing what you see. I like to say to children, pretend you're a camera. So you're drawing exactly what your stones look like. So you can see Emily here, she's drawn a picture of an underwater ocean. There's some fish, but she didn't draw like a fish. She actually drew the shapes of the stones that made up the fish as well, and the octopus and the waves and things like that as well. So if children can, you can encourage them to draw what they see. And using a pencil, a grey lead pencil particularly, is really great, because sometimes you can shade that. You shade it, like maybe, you know, rub some of the pencil and make some of the stones look darker if they are in your collection as well. And again, really encouraging children all the way along to take their time. So step 4 is narrating. So step 4 really is about telling the story or writing the story. Now, if you're working with, you have lots of young children, like families with young children in your toy libraries, they may not be able to yet write. You've got the job of writing their story for them when they narrate it to you. Some stories might just be a line or two or a title. And then some stories are pages and pages and pages. If you've got about a 4-year-old, pages and pages and pages explaining what their story is all about. But if you do work with older children, you are, running a holiday program or something like that, and doing this experience with them, then the older children can write their own stories from that. So again, we had gathering, constructing, rendering, narrating, and now sharing. So step 5 is really an opportunity for the children to share their stories. And really what I love about this is that they know it's a great opportunity for them to know that their voice matters, and they know that their stories are important, and really to hear and see other children's stories as well. So a lot of this is about empathy and understanding. What you will do is, generally we sort of call it like a museum walk and talk. So you sort of walk slowly around a museum and admire all the pictures and the things that are going on around you. And you'll find most of the time that the kids are really, they're really careful with the other children's creations. They really understand after doing it how important those stories are. So generally they don't sort of run through and kick stones everywhere. They're really, really respectful of that. And I think that's sort of how the other steps before this are really part of sort of setting this beautiful sharing experience up. Now, not everyone has to share, of course. If you feel comfortable sharing when we do it, please do. If you don't, that's okay as well. Sometimes it's a wonderful way to encourage empathy and understanding, and just share your stories. And what I really love about this too is that and how I generally wrap up the session is talking about the stones, and we all started with the same things. We all started with stones, and notice that each of us and each of those stones told different stories. And then the next time those stones come together, they'll tell different stories. And so that uniqueness in that opportunity for that creative expression is really wonderful for children, not only to understand about nature, but to understand about themselves as well. Just before we get into talking quickly about some sort of other settings, and then we'll go into our practical as well. I was fortunate enough to be invited to run a Stonework play session with an incredible school, Rising Star Nursery and Primary School in Uganda, where I zoomed in with really dodgy technology, but we zoomed in, did the best we could, and led a Stonework play session for the children and the teachers in this school. And one of the things that I really noticed about this, it was just they absolutely loved it. They loved their hands-on experience. And as I said before, when Diana was in Nepal, like I was talking to the teachers and I said, have you got lots of stones around, or clay is another session that we're going to do another time, because they had these resources and they didn't have to spend money on them as well, which was really important to them. One of the things that I noticed about the stories that the children in this particular school did was that when I work with kids in Australia, there's lots of stories about unicorns and dragons and dinosaurs and that sort of kind of those fantastical and imaginative kind of stories, which are wonderful. But these children, when I was talking to them, I was talking to them about, create a picture in front of you with your stones that maybe it's something that's important to you, something that you love to do. And the stories that they created were very practical stories that were really rooted in the things that were important to them in their lives. So there wasn't the it was just very culturally different and very interesting to see how that expression came out. You can see, I don't know if you can see my mouse moving around there, sort of in the middle there, there's a fly, a big fly, and that's kind of one of the insects that are around their school a lot. If you look at, there's the sun as well, there's a heart somewhere and a teacup, and then this square with the circle in the middle and the lines coming out of it created by Margaret here on the right, was actually a jerry can. And so her story was about, she was the water carrier in her family. And that was something that was so important to her, that she created a picture of her jerry can and wrote this beautiful story about how important it was to her and the place that it had in her life and how important that was to her family as well. So it was just a beautiful experience, but a very different group, for lots of different reasons, but it was a wonderful experience to be part of. So, and I know they continued to do Stonework play in the weeks following as well with the other grades as well. So it was really special. There's lots of other different settings that you can do Stonework play in. If you have some of your, maybe you have, I know there's intergenerational play groups. I don't know if you do intergenerational kind of toy libraries, or toy libraries where you can connect with the elders in your community. We would often go to our local aged care centre and do either a Stonework play session or something with the elders and with the students, and the conversations that came out of just playing with those stones were just so rich and so beautiful, because they sort of had a focus. It wasn't a big scary kind of aged care centre to go into for little kids. It was just like this really exciting storytelling opportunity. And those natural materials really simply opened the door to that conversation as well. And, you know, for the elders in our community, it can be a wonderful opportunity as well. Harry here on the left was doing what maybe some of the littler kids would do. He was sitting there and he was licking some of the rocks. And Harry is a dementia patient, beautiful man. And I said, "What are you doing, Harry?" And he said, thanks, Deb. And he said, "I'm looking for opals." And then he started telling us this beautiful story about when he was an opal miner in the Australian outback, and how they found flecks of opals in the stones was to actually wet them, or if they didn't have any water on them, they would lick the stones. And it just opened the opportunity for this beautiful conversation, again to have too. So and you can see here an example of here is the construction. So they've gathered their stones, constructed their stones, they've rendered and drawn the picture, and then they've written the picture, which is the narrating part of it, and then of course the next one is sharing. So just to show you sort of what the finished it's always process over product, but this is what the finished kind of story will maybe look like as well, or it might just be a title depending on the age of the children as well. So anyway, I might take questions at the end, but what I would like to do, I'm just looking at the just quickly looking at the chats. HEMS is is a school. I can't remember off the top of my head what it means. That's terrible, isn't it? But I do. It's the name of the school in Kathmandu. So we can I can take some questions at the end. I have done Stonework play sessions in toy libraries as well, a couple of toy libraries here locally, which were wonderful. So I encourage you to do this, this sort of activity experience with your families and with the children, if you've got that opportunity to have a sort of a group kind of setting as well. So we're going to go, Debbie, are you okay now if we go into sort of a bit of a practical? Yep, excellent. Okay. So what I would like you to do with your stones is to create a story in front of you on your desk, wherever you are. If you need to go and sit on the floor or whatever you want to do, please feel free to do that. and go through this, the gathering, constructing, rendering. We may not get to narrating and then sharing as well. We'll probably have about 10 or 12 minutes to do that. I'm going to put some music on. It is beautiful, relaxing music. So I apologize in advance that I have to bring you back from it. But I will give you about a minute warning to do that. But I do encourage you to, take your time and really enjoy the process. So I'll be quiet for about 10 minutes now. Okay, I'm going to pop the music on. Deb, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear the music in a second? All right, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. We might just have 2 more minutes. If you haven't finished, that's okay, but just a couple more minutes. Okay. I'm sorry to bring you out of that. Sorry to bring you out of that beautiful music. I think often I'll put that on and it'll just take me away. So I hope you all enjoyed that part of your session. What I'd love you to do, actually, if it's possible, if you can work out how to do it, if you would maybe take a photo of your stones, and then you can share it maybe in the chat. I know some people have done that before. I'm not quite sure how to do that as well. But yeah, if you can do that, or maybe you can email them to Debbie. She can show me. But if anyone wants to, I'd like to invite. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hang on. Would like to invite some of you to share, if you would like. I don't know if you can see be able to see mine or not, but I created a turtle. I don't know if you can see that very well. It was a turtle, and the other stones. I didn't have many stones, as you can see. You don't need too many. And my story was called "Going with the Flow." So this was the turtle that was going with the currents, the flow of the currents in the water. And I haven't written my story yet, but that I think is a really beautiful start to possibility of a story. So if anyone wants to pop off mute and share, is anyone willing to put their hand up and share their picture or their story? Oh yeah, excellent.
Can you see it?
Yeah, just hold it. Can you hold it a little tiny bit? Beautiful. Excellent. Yeah, that way. It's going to flip. Yes. It's going to flip. Excellent. Could you tell us about that, Nellis?
So my thing is little flowers. I love flowers. I love gardening. I love being in nature. And our family is working on this transition for when we retired. To go and live in the country. And so there's a tiny rock that's going to be our little house. My husband and I, and we know our daughter, she's going to be flying away and doing her things, but she's going to be on top of us, because she'll be inside of our hearts. And there's some clouds in there, and there's some other rocks on the side that I don't know what they are. So that's going to be part of that journey that you don't know what's going to happen.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's wonderful. How did you feel when you were doing that? Did the story tell itself, or did it kind of take a while to?
On the beginning, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's like, but then when you guide it, think of what makes you happy. What are you, what do you want? So then it's kind of like, there's just came. I think that's the first is the part I don't know what to do, but it feels so good. And your music, it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to share the music as well, Debbie. I can send you across a link to that music, and you can take it and download it. And excellent. Thank you for sharing. That's wonderful. Dominique, would you like to share? I think you've got your hand up there.
Yep.
Beautiful.
So, well, it's not my imagination. Can you see it? Because I can't see me on the screen.
No, you have to lift it up a little bit, maybe.
Just a minute. I try and see me so that I can. Oops. How can I see me? Zut alors. Can you see something?
I can see the top of your head and your phone a little bit. If you, maybe if you lift your phone up, yep, better? That's better. Yep, and lift the phone up a little bit higher. Yep, perfect, great. Yep.
Okay, so it's a story I didn't create because I don't have so much imagination than children. It's a story called The Soup with a Stone. On the right, there is a village with the houses and the people beneath. And on the left, there is a rabbit coming with a bucket, a pan, and he's starving. And he asks, can you give me something to eat? And they said, no, we've got nothing. And said, never mind, I've got this pan. And he put a fire, the little orange, and put a stone and started stirring and said, it's very good. But it might be perfect with a carrot. And so a goat would take a carrot, and so little to little, we could have some little stones, and we might try and make some photos to make some kind of stop motions. And afterwards, the end of the story is that the village, all the people eat together and say, oh, it's really wonderful. We had good time. Thank you very much for listening. Wonderful idea of starting those video with the theme. It's really amazing. Thanks a lot.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's wonderful. I think that the stones have so much possibility and so much there's so many extension opportunities as well for that. You can tell a story that is an existing story with the stones, and then that kind of springboards children's imagination to just go beyond, above and beyond. Yeah, so thank you, Dominique, that was wonderful. Would anyone else like to share their stories? Well, anyone else, if we don't want to share your stories, I've got a comment here actually. Stones did an interesting activity like hands that you might create your stones of. All about me. Children will feel crazy and have fun. Also, yeah, you'll find, sometimes you find like the children who are the most kind of, hyperactive and, want to run around or whatever, really take to this activity and just sit and really create something just that's so beautiful. And yeah, it's such a mindful activity. So thanks, Dominique, that's wonderful. Beatrice, would you like to share or have a comment particularly? Beatrice, yeah. I'll unmute you. Here you go. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a few stones, not too much should it be. Sorry, my English. And I wanted to follow Dominique. And can you see it?
Yes. Beautiful.
It's very short, my story.
Yes. Can you share tell us what it's about?
Yes. Is at night that the moon is in the clear in the dark, and the two animals were so solitary. Then, oh my God. Then the bear thought, I'm so sad. I'd like to talk to feel somebody else or someone, animal. And the other side, a little dog thought the same thing. And they was only behind a big stone, a mountain. Then they the dog began to not to talk, but to, I don't know how to say how.
Bark.
And the beer, and they to take around the mountain and become together. Just
Beautiful.
Okay,
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. In that story that you created, there were, I think I counted 12 stones. And so it's amazing that you can create such a wonderful story with, so you don't need piles and piles of stones and rocks. You can just create this beautiful story and then let your imagination take it away and invite children to add to the story if you like as well. And really wonderful. So thank you for sharing, Beatrice. That was wonderful. Excellent. I'm just looking at the comments again. Dominique said, activity adapted to any person with special needs or someone who feels ill at ease with speaking or writing. Source of resilience, definitely. There's, I did this, I do some work with our local special education school, primary school in our local town. And the very first session I did with them was stonework play. And it was just they just immersed themselves in this beautiful experience. And I was asked I was asked you know, you're taking rocks there? And I'm like, absolutely, I'm taking rocks there. You know, nature for all. We want all children to be able to connect with the earth and connect with nature and have these experiences. And they were the most wonderful storytellers. So as he said, you know, Dominique's special needs, and yeah, if people, children don't feel at ease in public speaking or writing, I know, you know, it was sometimes with older children, like my son was, you know, he still doesn't like to write. He's 14, still doesn't particularly love to write. But when he was younger, he didn't like to write stories. He would rather tell stories. But he had a very creative mind, and we had just been on a boat to Tasmania, and his story when we came back, he picked all the little stones. He's a details kind of man. He picked all the little stones out, and he made this huge ship out of stones, and that was his way to start writing his story. So if I had given him a blank piece of paper and said, write your story, he would have kind of, you know, been negative to that and not wanted to do it. But having that tactile, kinesthetic experience allowed him then to work through that and create that story. And then he wrote a beautiful story. There were 48 portholes in the boat, and he actually counted them when we're on the boat. So it's really got something for everyone, I guess. But I think we're just about at yeah, almost at the hour, but I wanted to open up, Debbie, if you want, just to, if anyone's got a couple of questions, or you've got some ideas about how maybe you would use it in your toy libraries. And yeah, and just want to, so feel free to unmute or, yep.
I just hear something. What is so cool, I'm creating a collection of toy boxes to showcase countries and cultures around the world. And so I've been talking to people from different countries and talking to them, like, and asking, like, how did you play back home? And one thing we all have in common, we all play with sticks and stones. Like, I thought it was so cool. I was so interested on your presentation, because like everybody would talk. So we have one thing that unites us all. Like, even though we have different cultures, different stories, like we have that in common, that we all started with stick stones. So yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful, beautiful. I love that. So, anyone else? Right. Okay. I might just, I might just share my contact details, maybe, Debbie, if anyone wants to, just on the screen, and then if anyone, please feel free to reach out to me about Stonework Play or any particular resources. Let me just, if you go to, I think Debbie shared in the email as well, if you go to nurturingnature.com.au international-stonework-play day, International Stonework Play Day, or just Google International Stonework Play Day and this will come up. And you can download this Parents and Educators Handbook. Will be updated for this year, and I do invite you to, you can do Stonework Play any day. You can stay with sticks and play with sticks and rocks any day. But if you want to be part of sort of a worldwide kind of celebration of International Stonework Play Day, then on or around November 3rd is when we do that. You can find it on Facebook and things like that as well. So please download that resource. There's also another link that I'll share called the New Rules of Nature Play. And these are all about the can-do things that we can do in nature. I know, Annalise, you'll like this. You know, we can jump in muddy puddles. We can wear our play clothes. You know, we can get messy and dirty. Insects aren't, you know, aren't yuck. We'll wander with wonder. And my favourite there, I think, I can't really see it, is you don't melt in the rain. Bit of a reference to Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, but you don't melt in the rain. And so getting out and playing in nature in all kind of weather, obviously being mindful of safety and things like that. Yeah, these are the can-do rules, and this would be a really cool poster to print out maybe and put up in your toy libraries to encourage parents to say yes more often to these experiences as well. And yeah, I think that's, I'll put mine up here, but Dominique, did you have a question or a
It was
comment?
just an observation. I found it really wonderful to start these series of video about playing with nature, so that we can deconnect the act of playing or of lending plastic games and toys from China. And so it's really universal and linked to nature. So congratulations to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I think, you know, there's such what I mean, your toy libraries are so rich in these beautiful, wonderful invitations to play. And so, you know, I think if we can blend the natural with, you know, and I know a lot of this from being at the conference as well, the international conference, you know, there was a lot of talk around sustainability in toy manufacturing and toy play. So yeah, so I really want to thank you for taking a part in that sustainable actions as well. But yeah, we are all connected with nature. We are nature. We're not just playing in nature. We actually are nature. So yeah, if anyone else has any questions, otherwise I'll hand it over to you, Debbie. And I want to thank everyone for participating, and yeah, I had a great time. So please get in touch if you have any questions or you like to